together with the investor who would have been given opportunity to mine at this particular abandoned shaft.
ENCA reporter Verlie Oosthuizen live for us in Barberton.
Well, let's return now to our earlier story, and that is about the job scam and influencers who have actually managed to pass on information that is incorrect and quite dangerous. Now, government has raised the alarm over the job scam circulating on social media. It comes amid widely circulated videos promoting lucrative opportunities in Russia, targeting young women specifically. Even more worrying is that these scams are being promoted by social media influencers, making the deception appear more credible. Let's chat more about this and what action can be taken with Verlie Oosthuizen, Head of Social Media Law at Shepston and Wiley Attorneys. Verlie, good afternoon and thanks so much for your time. And I mean, it is very worrying when you have social media influencers with millions of followers who themselves fall for these scams and then pass them on, and then followers believe this is legit, they apply and are probably human trafficked at the end of it. What charges or what action can be taken here?
Well, it's actually terrifying, and it falls probably within the realm of cybercrime. Scams in all shapes and forms are happening in cyberspace. It's the easiest place for these things to happen. And I think that unfortunately the law is a little bit behind in terms of these cyber crimes, because it's quite difficult to find out where they originate from. And as you say, the influencers may have fallen prey to a scam themselves. And there actually isn't any regulatory body dealing with influencers, as a doctor would be subject to the Health Professions Council, a lawyer is going to be subject to the Legal Practices Council. Influencers don't have that kind of regulatory oversight.
Yeah, so and that is the worrying part. This is sort of uncharted territory from what we can gauge. Is the influencers who are passing on information, but also being influencers have a certain amount of responsibility, don't they? Knowing, I mean, they're not going into this blind. They know that there are certain things they have to be looking out for. And what should those things be?
Well, it depends very much. I'm going to be a good attorney and say it depends very much on the facts of the case, and it depends on what these influencers were told themselves. Obviously, if they, fell prey to a scam and it was a sophisticated scam and it looked very legitimate, then, they're part of the crime themselves without unwittingly. But if influencers are actually perpetrators of the crime themselves, which could be the case, and I'm not saying it's the case now, people, it's like any kind of criminal activity, and people can be very sophisticated in the way that they do it, and they can be very unsophisticated. Influencers make their money by the amount of traffic that comes across their social media platforms, and also by the amounts of likes and the amounts of interaction that they get. And so they obviously should be very careful about the kinds of products that they are peddling, because if they are peddling products that are going to be dangerous, and it becomes very problematic. They're not subject to the Advertising Complaints Council or anything like that. And as you say, this is uncharted territory.
So in your job, you probably come across a lot of this on social media, false information being passed on, and people probably not checking whether things are legit. What should we be looking for? What exactly are we? How do we identify the different types of scams? And I'm sure that you've dealt with several. Let's start with that, actually. I mean, several scams that might be out there at the moment that have been brought to your attention.
Well, my daughter kindly reminded me last night that I've fallen prey to a scam. So it can happen to anyone, including a social media lawyer who should be aware of these things. And as I say, it is they're usually very sophisticated. The simple truth is that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that is the starting point, especially with any kind of a job or any kind of a product, or if you've won money or anything of that nature. One very good rule of thumb is that job seekers should never be paying for a job. Like competition competition winners shouldn't be paying to get their prize. So even in very legitimate cases where people are going through a proper recruiting office, if the person who is getting the job themselves is having to pay a price for that, then it's usually unlawful. You are not allowed to do that. So that would be a starting point. And simple things like looking at the spelling, looking at the numbers, phoning the people and speaking to them. You need to do your due diligence, particularly if you're deciding that you're going to go to another country.
Absolutely, and this time, I mean, we're not oblivious to that. What about the use of AI and how it is being used? I mean, I've seen videos of myself being circulated promoting, weight loss products. So I'm very flattered, but I mean, and it looked like me, and it actually sounded like me. It actually did. Now, how do we know? How do we even deal with that?
Well, that's a very, very difficult landscape that we're entering into with AI, and I see that across the board, not just with advertising, not just with, with scams. It can happen where people are using them in terrible, underhanded ways, like, where online porn, where they are actually, blackmailing people. So that is a new landscape, and people have to be very careful about the image. If the image is out there in the public, then you never know. Someone could actually use AI to to change that. The fact is that if these are crimes and the place to deal with them is to go and to report the crime, we have the Cyber Crimes Act, and they are supposed to be making these divisions of to deal with cyber criminals, and that is the correct forum to do it in.
Well, I see International Relations saying that these claims are being under investigation, these incidents, and it'll be very interesting to see the outcome. But thanks for your time, Head of Social Media Law and Ships.